Well, we have some new details on Black Widow, the film that we should already be past and talking about the future of the MCU, but instead, we're still going to focus on the past whenever this film comes out. Let's talk about some details revealed by Disney. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know when this movie comes out. I haven't looked at my notes because I scrapped those. I talked about this on the podcast. I'm just not even caring anymore. It's just bound to get delayed at this point. So keeping up with it, who really cares? But Disney's like, we gotta remind the people that there's a Black Widow movie coming out. So let's talk about Black Widow. Let's give them some new details on what this movie is about. And Scarlett Johansson was asked about it, and she was able to actually say something instead of just keeping quiet, because obviously they need stuff out there in relation to this movie because people got to be aware that it's still coming out. So she said, and I quote, "What is family? How does it define us? How does our past define us? How does our family, however we define it, make up who we are, for better or for worse?" So this movie is about family and where you come from and how has that defined who you are. Now let's take this all the way back to what we know this movie is about. They've recently said it's about the abuse of women. It's about multiple things that make Natasha and the Black Widow program the way they are structured into forming who you are down the road. We had hints of this in Age of Ultron, but it never got to be fully explored. And of course, how does the people that you considered family build up who you are today? Because if we look back on it, again, you really got to go back to the Black Widow program. You got to go back to how was she raised? Was there certain elements of manipulating your mind in such a way that you see these people as your family, even though they're doing terrible things to you? And this all sort of ties back into what they've been talking about in regards to this film and who Natasha is, and how we don't really have all the details, and that there is revelations in this that are going to be something new to add to the conversation and define why Natasha is the way she is in the MCU, which again, in my opinion, is a boring character that doesn't really show emotion. But I understand that that rolls back into who she is and how she was brought up. So hopefully this movie can touch back on those elements and show us how she got to that point. Because the only times I really enjoyed the character was the times she was broken and showing vulnerability, like in Avengers Endgame, for example, because I felt like there was a relatable character in there, not just this stoic assassin woman who's amazing at everything she does in hand-to-hand combat. So it does sound like pretty good hype up right there for me. I mean, it's about family. And if I know anything about family, it's that Vin Diesel will try to sue them over the use of family in a movie.